Thank you guys for being here for another episode of the Portrait Profits Show that's sponsored by Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab. Javi is here with us from Digital Pro Lab, and I'd love for him to share a few things from Digital Pro Lab's point of view.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I know I was having issues earlier with my audio. But yeah, no, like Jim was saying, my name's Javi Valdez. I'm here on behalf of Digital Pro Lab. Again, for Miguel, Steve, all the regulars. I'm sure y'all have already heard my spiel a million times. But my job here at the lab, I work with all of our new clients. So whether you're a first-time printer, somebody who's been printing for years, or anybody like that who's looking to get online with Digital Pro Lab, I kind of work to facilitate getting everybody set up. And I do a lot of things from answer questions to advise people on print substrates, print pricing, stuff like that. But yeah, so like I said, if anybody is interested in getting set up on that, I'll drop my email in the chat, so y'all can get a hold of me, and we can hopefully get you all set up. But another thing I wanted to mention, so pretty soon here in the next probably week or so, we're actually going to be running a special, and I'm giving you guys a heads up here first. We're going to be running a special. It's going to be 30% off of all of our marketing materials that we offer. So anything that you can go over to our website and see under digital press marketing materials. That's the category that would be. So that'll include things like business cards, comp cards, things like these kind of like trifolds here. So these 8.5 by 11 trifolds that we have here. We're going to be doing 30% off of all of those. We kind of wanted to put our heads together and think of something that might be pertinent for today's topic, which is going to be planning your year. A big part of that is going to be making sure that you've got all the assets you need for anything marketing related. So that could be anything from printing out your business cards to if you're somebody who does in-person sales, printing out something like this for a pricing menu that you might have for your clients to look over, just anything like that. And so if you think that's something that you might be able to take advantage of, what I would actually encourage you to do is go over to our website, digitalprolab.com. If you scroll down to the very bottom, there's a bar that says get in contact with us. And if you enter your email address in there, once we drop that promo code, you'll be notified immediately, and you can kind of take advantage of that. And so it's probably going to be a flash sale of sorts. And so we just want to make sure that you guys had ample time to kind of prepare for that and think about all the things that you might need from that catalog. And so if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, like I said, go over to that website, enter your email address, and then go over and actually look at those products and see and kind of game plan what you might need, what you think might be useful for you. But yeah, thank you, Jim.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. That's perfect for today. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. All those marketing materials. I mean, they do a good job of printing, especially because they're targeting us as photographers. All the other manufacturers or printers that do this kind of thing, they do it for everybody, and they do a good job. But when you're working with someone who is directly, working with photographers, who is targeting photographers and knows exactly what we need, that they're going to do a much better job. And so I definitely recommend taking advantage of this special. Thank you, Javi. Yeah, awesome. So you in the chat, those of you who have the chat open, if you don't, I recommend you open the chat. You'll see Javi's email address. So if you need to reach him directly, Javi at digitalprolab.com. He's really easy to get a hold of. So whenever you guys have a question or thought, reach out to him. And same thing with Miguel. He put his email address in here. He is one of the organizers of the San Antonio Photography Facebook group, which has 8,000 some members, a big photography group. And so he has his email address there as well. And just before that, hopefully you received the PDF of today's handout, the Plan Your Next Year Today handout. If you need for me to send that again, just let me know. I can resend that. I can put that into the chat again if you need it. Just let me know in chat.
And I can email it if anyone needs it.
Perfect. Yep, perfect. Thank you. That was Miguel. Thanks, Miguel. Yeah. So if you need it via email, just send an email to Miguel and he'll forward it to you. Perfect. All right. Well, once again, I want to welcome you. I'm so glad that you're here today, spending time with us in the middle of your Monday, the beginning of your week, and thinking about what you're going to be doing next year. This is the time to plan for next year. This is early June. And you may be thinking, well, this sounds a little bit early. For some, it is, but for most of us, this is the right time to do it. And you're going to see later in this presentation that I recommend starting just a little bit earlier with a few things. You'll notice why when I come across it, when I bring it up. But today we're going to be talking about creating your 2022 today. Plan your next year beginning today in June. And I'm going to want you to work on it, a little bit here and there. You can put a lot of effort into it today, and look at it and go over it and have it finalized within the next few months. By the end of the summer, have it finalized so that you can really get the work done that you need to do. There's a lot of preparation that goes into planning everything that you're going to be doing for next year. We'll be talking about several different things, and I want you to think about each one of those. We're going to talk about the specifics, what to think about, all the different things you need to do in advance, so that you can be prepared for that kind of thing. So I'm going to share my screen with you real quick, so those of you that don't have the handout can still see what it is that I'm talking about. Plan your next year today. Start planning next year today. And yeah, that photograph that I put in there of me each time, usually I just pick one out of just some selfies that I've done. This one I did a few hours ago this morning. So you can see I'm wearing exactly the same clothes. That doesn't ever happen, but it happened today. So our goal when we're creating next year's calendar, our goal, create the framework to have a predictable, consistent calendar, as well as a steady stream of highly qualified prospects contacting you and, of course, hiring you. This is our goal. We want to plan next year, but not only do we want to plan it, we want it to cause us to have a steady stream of clients coming in. So it's got to serve that purpose. We're going to start by defining what it is that you do, the types of photography, if you want to work with a charity, if you want to go on a vacation, what do you want to do? Special projects. What do you want to sell? So sessions, mini sessions, products. And by the way, in some of these handouts, you're going to see that there are footnotes. That little one next to mini sessions have the definition of mini sessions. I think a lot of people have misunderstood the definition of a mini session, because you can have regular sessions that are just short. I think a lot of people believe that a mini session just means you reduce the time of the session to the client. If that's the only variable that you've changed, it is not a mini session. It's still a session. It's just a shortened one, but it's still a session. If the only variable you change is the amount of time that you give the client, that's not the definition of a mini session. You have to change the entire amount of time. Everything is reduced in order to make it a mini session. And so you can see here the definition. A mini session has less to do with the amount of time a photographer spends with photographing the client, and more to do with the ability for the session to be repeatable for additional clients using the same scene or props or lighting. It's not a mini session if the only thing a photographer does is reduce the amount of time spent in front of the camera. It's just a shorter session. The intent of a mini session is to do the same thing for a series of clients, one right after the other, and reducing the total amount of time invested per client, not just camera time. Example, Santa pictures, Easter bunny pictures. This can be done with an included package or digital files. It can be done with a post-sales session for in-person sales. But the goal, the definition of mini sessions means that it's repeatable. So if you're going to the park and photographing one, but you're only doing a 20-minute session, that's not a mini session, guys. That's still a regular session. It's just short.
I see a lot of people get that one wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what I think a lot of photographers do is they use it as an excuse to have a lower price, because they're trying to get that price. They know that clients care about price, and so they're giving themselves an excuse to have a lower price. If you're spending the same amount of time on every other variable, then you can't reduce the price that much. It doesn't make sense for you to make a profit. Now, that's not the subject for today, but when we're talking about mini sessions and special projects, I need for you to take that into consideration because of the amount of time that you put in. And when we're talking about time, we're talking about the calendar, because we've got to schedule that time in to make sure that we give ourselves enough room for those kind of things. Any other thoughts about mini sessions before I move on? No?
We could go
Awesome.
on for a while on that.
We could go along. We could go on for a while. You're exactly right. All right. So the first, under goals, the first thing, we're starting by defining, what do you want to do during the year? What do you want to do? This means the types of photography you want to do. If you want to work with charities, if you want to go on a vacation, if you've got special projects, whatever it is that you want to do. The second thing is, what do you want to sell? Sessions, mini sessions. You want to sell products. What do you want to sell? Now, this may be the same year after year after year. That's fine. But I want you to define it. Next is, who do you want to work with? Now, this is something you probably should have done already, but I know that a lot of people haven't. They haven't really done a good job of defining who they want to work with. I think a lot of people's definition is, well, whoever will pay me. Really bad definition, guys. You can't target whoever will pay you. It's too large of a group. You've got to narrow that down. There's only one of you. Next is, how much do you want to make for the year? We're going to do this by putting all this on the calendar, and we're going to go over the different procedures and the steps. That's the goal for today. I want you guys to take one thing real quickly into consideration. If you're looking at my handout right now, you can see my own little version of a stop sign, and underneath, something that is very important to planning. You cannot plan if you don't know what you want. I've heard people give this excuse that they're not sure. So, I don't know what to do. I'm too early on in my business, or I'm young, and so I don't know what I want for the future. I'm playing it by ear. I'm trying different things. Guys, you cannot plan for your future until you've defined what it is that you want to head towards. I mean, can you plan to drive somewhere without defining where you're going to drive? I can very easily get to downtown, whatever city I'm in, if I define that downtown's where I want to go. But I have to define the destination in order to make a plan to get there. If you're going on vacation, don't you plan where you're going to go? I'm thinking for your business, it's even more important to plan where you're going. Yeah, there's no excuse of, I don't know where I'm going yet. If you have that feeling, then that just means you need to spend a little bit more time in thinking about where you're going to go, or maybe get someone to help you with that, someone who's qualified to help you with that. I can help you with that. There's a lot of people in that situation. They don't know what they want. I get that. I understand that completely. But don't let that be an excuse for not planning. And I'm talking about not short-term planning. That's easy, relatively speaking. I'm talking about long-term planning, at least a year out. Today, we're only talking about a year out. But long-term planning needs to include a lot more than that. And you've got to know what you want. You've got to have a destination in order to plan a path to get there. Start with 2 parts of the foundation of your life, including goals and dreams. Number 1, define who you are in terms of what makes you happy, what energizes you. What excites you? What gets you up in the morning with enthusiasm? What things do you want to experience? Define you. That's one. Number two, it's the business side. Define what kind of business you provide. You are a tool amongst many other potentially similar tools. What is it about you and your business that is specifically different and unique? What are the differentiators? By the way, if you can't describe your business in a way that is so completely obvious to your target market as being exactly what they want, then you just simply haven't done a sufficient job of defining what it is that you do. This isn't a problem. It just means that there's more work to be done. No biggie. Now you've identified the problem. Once you've identified a problem, you've given yourself the opportunity to fix it. So don't stop. Continue. Define you and your business so clients are sure, so that they are so clear that it is easy for them to share it with those they know. By the way, people will hear about what it is that you do and not need it, but they may, because you've defined it so clearly, be able to picture someone else in their mind and share it with them. I've gotten a lot of clients that way, where someone says, "Oh, I was told about you from this other person." And I'm like, "Oh, crud, I don't remember who that person is. Can you help me can you remind me of who that is?" And they tell me about someone who I've never done business with, but I've defined what it is that I do clearly enough where this happens. I want you to do that too, because if you're doing the things that energize you, by the way, if you're doing the things that don't energize you, if you've got clients that are draining you, that's your fault, not theirs. Stop blaming it on them. You did something that attracted them. So stop doing that thing. Identify who it is you are, what energizes you, what gets you up in the morning, what makes it difficult to go to sleep at night. All the things that you enjoy, that you want more of in your life. Plan this. It's by design. Make it happen. All right, let's move into that calendar. What product or types of photography are you going to sell and promote? I want you to choose up to 3. I don't want you to have a large number here. Yes, you will likely photograph more than just these 3. It's possible. You may just focus on just one. I want you to focus on one because it makes the planning easier. And I think for planning purposes, at least initially, until you get good at it, you should just plan one type, but up to 3, because sometimes there's 2 or 3 that really go together. Choose up to 3 types. It could be children, it could be families, it could be wedding photography, high school seniors, whatever it is. Choose that. If you've only got one, then only one of these boxes will have something in it. Include the type and any details, how you're going to sell it. So sessions, mini sessions. What products will you sell? Digitals, prints, etc. Are you a shoot and burn photographer? Are you a post and pray? Are you IPS? Are you doing a combination? You know, depending on what you do, let's say you focus on LinkedIn headshot profile images. Well, this is going to be digital files. It doesn't mean you can't sell prints, and I think you should at least attempt to sell some prints. But what is it that they want? They want digital files. How many do they want? 1. So that's what you focus on. You may attempt to sell more, but the goal is one good one, because you can only have one profile image. So write what it is you're going to do. Now, this could be special projects also. If you've got some special projects you want to work on. A few years ago, one of the people that I've worked with several times, Sarah Brooke Lyons, did a project called 1,005 Faces, where she photographed 1,005 faces holding up a card that had something that they wanted to say to the world on it. She did it in black and white, and she made at least 3 different panels with all these images on it. Really cool. Special project. If you guys want to do something like that next year, well, think about it today. You don't need to plan everything about it right off the bat. You will have to plan. But if you want to do a special project like that, feel free. It's awesome. Next, who do you want to work with? This is your ideal client. So define who your ideal client is, those that energize you. By the way, I think one of the best ways to define who is your best client is by also defining the opposite, who drains you. We have all worked with people who have not energized us. In fact, they have totally drained us of all of our energy. And there are some that got us to the point where we're even doubting that we want to do this anymore. If we know who it is we want to avoid, it makes it easy to avoid them. So I think you should define that too. Not here. I think only the stuff that you're after should be listed in this. But as far as you're doing this as a self-assignment, define what drains you as well, so that we do everything in our power to avoid it. So that's ideal client. And then groups that we might want to work with. I want you to add that here too. There may be some charity groups that are near and dear to your heart. Maybe you want to do something for them in 2022. We work with up to 12 charities per year. That's where we max out on time. We just don't have any more time to give any more after that. And you know, some of the charities we're giving to, we're not really donating a whole lot of time, but we, you know, to some degree, it is always time related. But up to 12, that's our max. You define what your max is. It could be 1. It could be 0. You don't want to do that at all. This is totally up to you, but it needs to be part of your planning if you find this important to you. Any thoughts or questions about that before I move on? All right, I'm moving on. We're going to define the numbers. This is a lightweight version of your numbers, but we need to define them. And I just realized I need to make this screen bigger, don't I? Is that about the right size, or is that too big? Pam says it's the right size. Good. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate you answering. Steve says it's a good size too. Awesome. All right. So define the numbers. How much do you want to make next year? I understand that some people will have difficulty answering that question. I get it. But again, we have to define the destination in order to make a plan to get there. So what do you want to make next year? Now, I wrote down gross total. So we have to consider that we've got expenses we have to pay for, and we've got taxes that we have to pay for. And you see that little 2 next to taxes? That means that there's a footnote down at the bottom. So let's scroll down to that footnote real quick. Expenses. Try to keep your expenses no more than 1/3. When you're starting off, that's really hard. But try to keep your expenses no more than 1/3. Taxes. Taxes are somewhere between 24 and 37%. I'd like to guesstimate at 1/3. So 1/3 taxes, 1/3 expenses. That means you get to keep 1/3. But your taxes are going to be somewhere between 24 and 37% almost always. That's just how taxes are. Now, that's as of now. If you're watching this in the what I would consider the future, but at your present, maybe it's a year from now, maybe the taxes are different. They'll probably go up. But that's what it is today. Somewhere between 24 and 37%. And so I'm going to say just guesstimated at 1/3. That way you may have more set aside than you need. That's not a bad thing. At the end of the year, a little bit of extra money, that's a good thing. But definitely with things like expenses and especially taxes, get with your accountants, get with your CPA. This is something that needs to be done by a professional. If you don't have one, please seek one out. These guys can be very, very helpful. And try to find one that has worked with other photographers who has a good reputation. There are some, there's, you know, every CPA, every accountant, they can all do this, but those who are working with other photographers have a better idea of what it is you're doing and what it is you're going through, and can make better suggestions to you. So that's a little aside. It's not here in the handout. but define your overall gross. What do you want to bring as an overall gross that does not take into account your expenses and taxes? I want you to consider those on your own. So the total amount of income you want to bring in. So the amount you want for yourself times 3 would be the total amount you're bringing in if we're saying expenses are a third and taxes are a third. By the way, I see there's a chat question. Oh, okay. Thanks, Jennifer. Now in the chart below, number 2, I want you to write down how many clients of each type do you want. Now that's from above when you wrote down the types of photography that you want to do. So maybe we've got family portraits and we've got high school seniors and we've got weddings, whatever it is that you choose to do. If you only had one of those filled out, then you only fill in one of these columns. Does that make sense? So let's say you've got family portraits. How many of them do you want to do? So write in that number, and then what will be your average sale of each type? And then the total. Now, what if you don't know your average sale? What if you don't know how many you want to do? We can still plan without that information, but it is beneficial to know that ahead of time. By the way, in the next section, actually 2 sections up, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on that. And so we're going to put that fill in each one of those. If you don't know the answers to those right now, skip it. Come back to it later. By the way, if you need extra help with this, take advantage of my 30-minute private session. So I offer that to anyone who's watching the Portrait Profit Show. It's on the handout. It's down at the bottom. So just take advantage of that if you need help with this. Now I want you to build your camera using tools. You've got tools that are very specific to photography business. You have planning software and other types of business software, business management, like Dubsado and Pixify and Irisworks and Honeybook. There's a bunch of them out there. I like all of them. These are tools if you don't have those programs. The first one I have here is called Plan Disc. Plan Disc. This is a circle calendar, a round calendar. So you've got January, February, March, April, all the way back around to December. That way you can see the whole year as a circle. And you'll see the traditional calendar over here on the side that is a large wet erase calendar over here on the side. And so whichever one of those is best for you, I would say do both. In fact, I'd start off with the regular calendar. This, and I say regular, you may not be familiar with what to the extent to I mean regular. On my wall, just right over there, is a 2022 calendar, and it has some things listed. It's a wet erase marker. So I've got these wet erase markers that I use on it. You can use dry erase on it too, but as you're writing new things, your hand rubs off what you had written before. And so use these wet erase instead of dry erase for this kind of thing. And the link to that, you can see that there's a note here and a note there, a footnote. So just go down to read those. Plan Disc is an annual calendar and a circle that helps you visualize your business and the things that repeat every year better than flat calendars do. And so for more information, you can go to plandisc.com/EN for English. This is not a US company, this is a Dutch company. And so if you just go to plandisc.com, you won't be able to read what's there. And then how to get started with it. And let me stop the share because I wanted you to see that. I wanted. All right, so I'm not going to show you that because it's no longer on my screen for some reason, but that's all right. But just go to Plan Disc populating.com/en. And on your handout, it's a PDF, so you can actually click on that link and it'll take you directly to it. If you want to see the description of it, just watch from, and you'll see on the handout from 22 seconds to a minute and something. So take a look at that when you get a chance. I'm going to bring my screen back up. I think. My share screen is not doing what it's supposed to do. Let's try one more time.
I'm telling you, Jim, it's Monday.
It may be a Monday thing. There it goes. All right. So how many of you guys have heard of a circular calendar before today? Give me a thumbs up if you've heard of a circular calendar before today. I don't see any thumbs up. How many of you are intrigued by the thought of a circular calendar because of what I've shared so far? Yeah, circular calendars are cool. Based on this is an online calendar, so therefore you can repeat this every single year, and this is an advantage for us as photographers, because those things that work, those things that we want to repeat, if we do Valentine's and Mother's Day specials and Christmas specials and so on, these things repeat. So why reinvent the wheel every single year? With PlanDisc, you just repeat the things you want to. So once you've done 2022, you can apply those things to 2023 and so on. So why reinvent the wheel? Make this easy for yourself. Automate every single thing that you can in photography. There's way too much work to be done. So therefore, automate as many processes as you can. You'll hear me say that one more time today. So those are the two tools that I like to use for my planning. Now, I want you to start by populating your calendar using the things on the personal side, not business. Start with the personal side. And I like to start with my flat calendar. It's huge. It's 3 feet by 4 feet. It's a big calendar because I need to be able to see it. I need to see the whole thing at a glance. I want to see the whole year. And so I mark off the things I already know. What things are those? Well, if I want to have a vacation, if I want some family time, if I want some personal time, if I want to take the kids' birthdays off or my wife's birthday off, if I want any of those things, I mark them off right off the bat because I know that I can't plan sessions on those days. I need to know that ahead of time. It's part of my planning process. It helps me to know what availability I have. So I start off by marking off the things that I want to do for personal purposes. Now, this may also include maybe you work out at a certain time of day, certain every day or every other day or whatever. So you put that on your calendar, mark it off. Maybe you have an optometrist that you go see once every year or once every 6 months. Maybe you go see the dentist once a year or twice a year or 4 times a year, however often. Put these on your schedule as soon as you can. Mark them off because these aren't an option for clients. Again, we have to see the destination we're heading towards in order to plan a path to get there. So whatever it is that you do personally, put it on your calendar right now. Mark it off. Now, I showed you a moment ago my dry erase markers. They're in different colors. And so, yeah, I color code things. My personal vacation stuff is in yellow. It is harder to see, but that's fine. I don't need for it to be easy to see. I just need to know that it's marked off. And it may be a half a day, but I mark it off. Color code. Definitely recommend doing that. Easy to see at a glance what is what. So mark that off. The personal side first, then the business side. after you've completed. Now, how much time do you want off? When do you want it off? You may not know when you want your vacation. However, you do know some things. Where do you want to go? You may have an idea of where you want to go. And you may have an idea of what time is the best time of year to go. You are in control. Plan it. If you want to go somewhere and you know that the rates are going to be cheaper in the fall, plan it in the fall. Know ahead of time. When you can plan something ahead of time, it makes it more possible. It causes you to know how much money do I need to save and how much money do I need to put aside each week or each month in order to make it happen. When you've got it on your calendar, things happen. When you've got it just in your head, they might. No, when you write it down, things happen, especially when you put it on a timeline like a calendar. Business side, I want you to break it down by the product, the type of work that you're doing, by the project. This could include personal projects, mini sessions, charity projects, whatever type of thing you want to do, and by the marketing efforts that are required to make those things happen. By the way, or as an example, if I want to do, let's say I do boudoir photography and I want to have a special in January for a Valentine's special, so it can be given as a gift for February 14th. Let's just say that's what I want to do. If I start telling people about it in January, I might not get enough business to make it work. But I also have a problem of Christmas. A lot of attention is on Christmas. So therefore, I've got to work it into this period of time between January and February 14th. So what do I need to do? I've got these variables and I can see the calendar. And so I can put all the different pieces that I need in there. I need to create my marketing pieces. Now, when do I need to create my marketing pieces? Probably before Christmas. So that I can do the marketing afterwards. Now, that may be how I do it. You may have a totally different way of doing it. Let's say that you want to do Easter bunny pictures. When is that? April? April. I want to tell people about it ahead of time. I have to create the marketing images. I've got to create the marketing pieces, the Facebook messages, the Instagram, whatever it is that I'm doing, the email I'm going to be sending out, the series of emails that I'll be sending out, because it won't be just one. I've got to create all those things ahead of time and then automate the process so that they just happen. Well, how far in advance do I want to give them? That's up to you. And it based on the project or the product. By the way, this is a special project when I'm talking about Easter bunny pictures or February 14th, Valentine's Day stuff. So it's a special project. So I need to have a certain amount of time that information is going out. 3 weeks I'd say is minimum. 6 weeks is probably ideal for most products and projects. Most. There's a lot of different things that require a lot more time. For instance, some of my workshops, I need a lot of time in order to sell those. But usually with photography, it's usually 3 weeks to 6 weeks is good. Sometimes I need more than that, but I almost never need less. It just depends on what it is I'm doing, of course. And you guys get to define what that is. But I've got to place this on my calendar, my marketing efforts. When do I start creating all these things? Because it's a long time. If I want to get my marketing materials out 6 weeks ahead of time, I don't start creating my marketing materials 6 weeks ahead of time. I'm going to start it probably 9 weeks ahead of time so that I'm prepared and it's ready to go 6 weeks out. I put that on my calendar. When do I need to begin my marketing process? And marketing process starts long before when my clients see it, because I've got a lot of prep to do. Every single piece of this goes out. I want you to write the title and the description of each product you're going to be promoting. I want you to write out the steps and procedures for each promotion and each project. I want you to write out the steps and procedures for each marketing promotion that you're going to be doing. A lot of steps here. By the way, when you begin this, that's the hardest part. When you repeat it, it becomes easy because all you're doing is tweaking. So year one, if this is the first time you're doing this, Expect it to be difficult. Not impossible. Some parts are kind of fun, but expect it to be time consuming and difficult. But when you do this, when you do 2023, it's going to be so much easier. So much easier. Your life will become easier. You want that, right? I do. I guess I would assume you do too. So plan these things out ahead of time, and next year, the next year after will be so much easier. Place the steps on your calendar, the deadlines, any type of reminders like Google reminders, or if you have a different software, put your reminders on there to remind you when you're supposed to start these things. I want you to automate everything that can be automated. I mentioned it before, I'm mentioning it again. It just makes things easier. Automate everything you can. And when you're planning, you're giving yourself that potential. Now, during the year, I want you to do record keeping. And this isn't part of your planning for this year, but it's part of your planning for next year so that you know what to tweak. Two different things. We're going to be talking about tracking and measuring the result of your efforts. Here's a simplified example. Maybe you've chosen to do weddings, family portraits, and high school seniors. Well, write down each one of your weddings. And this is just a quick example. Hopefully you have a lot more business than just these five family portraits, 4 weddings, or 6 family portraits, 4 weddings, and 5 high school seniors. Hopefully you have more business than that. But if that's all you have, then yours would look something like this. But I want you to write out so throughout 2021, do this, throughout 2022, do this, but write down everything that you're doing. Again, if you've got software, it's doing this for you. But if you don't have the software like Dubsado or Pixify or any of those others, then you're going to need to do it yourself. Write down each one of them, what the total amount was that you made, the total amount. So like for family portraits, if you have a $400 creation fee plus whatever the products they purchase, it's $400 plus whatever products they've purchased. Put the total amount there. And then add it up, divide it by the number of jobs you had, and now you know your average sale. You need to know your average sale. Got to know your average sale. Not only the totals, but your averages. So you can see an example here. I don't know if you feel that any of these are high or low, but average wedding photographer in San Antonio is probably about 4,200 to 4,500. That's average Joe. Nothing special, just average Joe wedding photographer is in 4,000s. Now it could be the 3,500 to 4,500 is probably a bit more on that, defining the average of San Antonio. Those who are less than that are just photographers. Photographers, just like restaurants, come in different categories, different expectations. So you've got the fast food photographers, and in a wedding sense, they're going to be 2,500 and under, 3,000 and under. That's their average. Then you're going to have those wedding photographers that are the casual dining, like Chili's, and those are going to be in the 3,500 to 4,500. And then you're going to have the fine dining photographers, and they're in the 5,000 plus. And then you're going to have the elites that are above 10,000. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's not a whole lot of photographers in San Antonio that have prices above 10,000. But my wedding was 12,000. That's how much my weddings were. I don't do them anymore. So, and then family portraits, average family portrait in San Antonio is about 2,500. That's pretty darn average. My average was 3,800. But there's photographers that have, one of my clients called me about a month and a half ago. And we've only talked twice. But this time he called and he said, I need some help. My average has gone from $20,000 down to $15,000, and I'm concerned about this trend. And so, let's talk about it. What can we do? And so I'm only bringing that up because, yeah, there are photographers in lots of different price categories. If you want to be in the $500 category, well, then you're going to have to work your tail off in order to bring in enough money. I think that's way too hard, too much work, way too much. You're going to get burnout. And if you love this, don't put yourself in a position of burnout. Don't be that $500 photographer. Just don't do it. You're going to get burned out. You won't last. And that's based on experience. That's based on working with lots and lots of different photographers over a long period of time. Those that have low prices, they do not last. If they have a passion in photography, they will last for a little while, but they will experience burnout. So if you truly love this stuff, don't be the fast food photographer. You're not going to last. Sorry. I know you want to. I know you want everyone to be able to afford this, but you will lose your interest in photography if you choose that route. It will kill you. It kill your interest in photography. It just does. Sorry. Then high school seniors, average high school senior here in San Antonio is about 1,500. That's pretty average. The fast food like Prestige, Life Touch, they have average sales of, I think, 750, 800, 900. And those are the ones that do one right after the other. Boom, 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 boom. They just do tons. So therefore, if those guys are doing that, then the custom photographer should be charging more than that. That's just how it works. I mean, if you're a furniture maker and you have you've got the stuff that's on the floor that everybody can buy, and then you've got the custom section where people can do whatever they want and have it custom made. Wouldn't you expect the custom made section to be more than the one they've made 500 of? Yeah, of course. When it's custom, it costs more. It just does. When you go get a car and you get some extras, the car price goes up. It just does. So yeah, we need to be more than that. There's a lot of photographers that they're not even thinking about that kind of thing. And they have prices that are just so low that they will never make a profit. Not even possible. I want you to plan this. I want you to know, again, you can't get to your destination if you haven't defined your destination. And once you have defined it, you give yourself potential to plan a path to get there. I want you to be in that category. Now, the next marketing effort is when you have multiple marketing, or the next category, the next example is when you've got multiple marketing efforts. If you've got multiple marketing efforts, say you've got one job, but you're doing email campaign, you're doing Facebook, you're doing Google ads, whatever it is you're doing. Marketing effort number one, let's say that's emails. Marketing number two is, let's say that's Facebook. Marketing effort number three, let's say it's Google. And marketing effort number four, let's say that's Instagram. I don't know, whatever you want. But you put that on there for this one product. And then you put down the name of the person and the total amount they spent. That way you can see how much money your marketing efforts are bringing in for you. And if you realize that you've put a lot of effort into one and only got one sale, let's say marketing effort number four, whatever that marketing effort number four is, you put a lot of effort into it, and yet it only got you one sale. So analyze that. Why is that? It might be that you don't do that one anymore. If you're going to put a lot of effort and get very little result, you're going to stop doing it, or you're going to find a way to make it have better results. One of the two. But in this instance, you only got one, and it was your lowest sale in this scenario. So therefore, it's a red flag. It's obvious that you must do something about it. I want you to have that kind of planning. I want you to have that kind of forethought. I want you to be able to see it so you can make decisions, not just go with the flow. Say, well, at least I got one. Yeah, it's good that you got the one, I suppose, but the one could have been better, and the future could be much better with some tweaks, or without it, with all the effort that you put into it. You no longer have to do that effort anymore. So do that. You've got your totals and your averages. Last part of this today, I want you to tweak your plan as you go.
Can I ask you one question?
Steve, yes?
On the marketing effort, are those the totals of what you brought in, or do you place anywhere in there what you spent on the marketing effort?
Yeah, I want you to include that as well. I made this incredibly simple, but Steve is bringing up a good point. I want you to include how much you spent in both time and money, because time is valuable as well. A lot of do-it-yourselfers, don't consider the time as part of the variables. And guys, you're do-it-yourselfers. When it comes to photography, at least, you're do-it-yourselfers. And so you're not really thinking much about, some of us aren't thinking much about the time. The time is an important variable. If you can if you can bring in 5 sales at the highest average, at a very high average sale for a minimal effort, you're going to want to put more effort into that compared to the thing that cost you a ton of money and a ton of time. You're going to go, it's like water flows in the direction of least resistance. You want to find out yours, not based on feelings, not based on what you think, but based on what's obvious, what you have, the information you have collected, so that you can see it. So it's very clear to you. Does that answer your question, Steve? Yes. Okay, good. Perfect. All right. So number 2, tweak as you go, as necessary. We know we don't want to overdo this, but we definitely want to tweak as we go, because we want this to be easier. After a while, first year's tough. Second year is a third as tough. After that, it just gets easy because you have tweaked as you go, making changes, seeing what needs to be changed, because you've kept good records and you have a plan for the future. Number 3, start your 2023 plan. What? We're not talking about 2022. Why am I talking about 2023? Listen to the whole sentence. Start your 2023 marketing plan as you begin to implement 2022. As you implement 2022, you're going to see some things that you need to change, some things you need to make adjustments to. So you may be thinking, well, if I do this again, I need to fill in the blank. Make that change to the 2023 calendar. Don't expect yourself to remember that at the point in time when you sit down to plan 2023. Don't expect yourself to do that. This is part of tweak as you go. Number 4, schedule planning time. On your calendar, put in when you're going to be getting serious about, in your 2022 calendar, put on there, you can make it in June. You can make it June every single year if you want to. You can make it in May. It's up to you as long as you put it on your calendar. Planning time for next year's calendar. I'm going to get serious about beginning my plan, say in June of each year. Set it aside. And maybe have some time where you finalized it in September. But I believe that your plan for the next year should be done by August or September of every single year, the year before. Any questions about that? No? Okay, cool. So before we end this, I want to remind you about the 30% off marketing materials that Javi is doing. Javi, do you want to mention that one more time, and when they can expect to what they need to do and when they can expect it?
Yeah, no, again, that's going to be 30% off of all of the digital press marketing materials that we do here at Digital Pro Lab. As far as the time that you can expect that, we should be, getting that up in the next week or 2. Again, the way to get notified for that, so that you can take advantage, would be to go over to our website, digitalprolab.com. Just scroll down to the very bottom, and there'll be a little kind of a bar where you can enter your email address. It'll say something like get in touch with us, or something to that tune. Enter your email address, and as soon as that goes live, you'll get an email saying what the promo code is. Obviously, we're giving that to you guys early. We're letting you guys know about that early, so that way you can kind of go in and game plan exactly how you want to use that. It's going to be a pretty quick sale, so being able to kind of think these things through, think about what Jim just told you guys as it pertains to setting up your next year, what events are you going to have to market, what kind of collateral are you going to need. Use that extra time that you guys have now to plan that out. And as soon as that goes up, you know exactly what you need. You can get in, get out. Again, I encourage you to go over there, take a look at the catalog, just see exactly what's in there. Business cards, trifolds, comp cards, flyers on a variety of different materials, and just think about how that might fit into your marketing plan for this upcoming year. And so yeah, like I said, be on the lookout for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Javi. Yeah, we definitely want to have good marketing materials. And you know what, the business cards, you may think you don't need those anymore. I still think that they're an essential tool. That and what I call takeaway or lift cards. I don't know what Javi calls them, but it's just kind of a postcard, maybe a big postcard. 4x6 is extreme minimum. I'm thinking more the 5x7, 6x9 size that has your information on it, but also has some photographs and testimonials and what someone needs to do who wants to do business with you. What is the next step? What do they need to do in order to work with you? I think that's the necessary parts of this card that you hand to people. Also, if you're doing exhibits, I would definitely recommend these larger cards with the more information on them to be set next to your exhibit as opposed to a business card. A business card is what everybody's going to do. By the way, when you stop and analyze and you say in your mind, well, everybody's going to do that, this only puts you in the crowd. Now, I guess the first thing you do with effort is to place yourself into the crowd. But then the next thing you want to do is cause yourself to stand out from that crowd. And one of those ways to do that is by taking advantage of the sale that Digital Pro Lab has on, by getting these additional things, that 3 trifold brochure, the lift cards, just different things, so that you do have the potential to stand out from the crowd. And that applies to anything. If you're doing something that doesn't cause you to stand out from the crowd, then you have just put yourself in the crowd. And you have to take that, you need to consider how to take that next step. So I want to thank you guys for being here today for the Portrait Profit Show, where we're planning 2022 today. Thank you for your interest in growing your knowledge on the business side of photography. Thank you for dedicating your time and sacrificing other important things in your life to be here today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I look forward to watching you grow. And any last thoughts before I end this episode? All right, then somebody had something? No? Okay. I just thought I saw it move. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, this is Jim Landers bringing you the Portrait Profit Show, giving you evolving content, awareness, and even fun to the business side of photography, where we provide helpful information, step-by-step processes, how-to articles, and action steps that will help you with the struggles you deal with now, so you are constantly realigned to the path that leads you to the success you deserve. Thank you for being here today at the Portrait Profit Show. See you next time.